Alright, so last week I made a video talking about Resident Evil 4 Remake and things that the overall kind of player base wanted to see, and today we're going to be doing the same thing with Resident Evil Reverse. Now, over the past few months I've made videos on Reverse, and I've noticed a lot of people do genuinely want it to still release, and are kind of bummed out that it's not being announced with yet, and there's been no kind of talk about it from Capcom themselves. Hopefully it's soon. I do kind of think that there'll be some kind of mention of this game whenever they announce the DLC for Village, but until that happens we're kind of in the dark about it. But either way, I wanted to make a video talking about what people think could improve the game on launch, what people want to see added to the game in the future, and general kind of ideas people have for the game, because I do personally think, if this game was to release and it reached an audience, which it would, because Village has sold a lot and it's free with that game. So I think there's probably a lot of people out there that would be willing to give it a go, and if the game did kind of keep a steady player base, there's a lot of things they could do with it and kind of support the game for a long time, and there's a lot of ideas that people have out there that could kind of let this happen. So we're going to go over those today. I'm going to stop talking now, so let's just get straight into the video. So the first thing a lot of people mention with this game in terms of future content is characters and bioweapons you can play as. Now, I think in the beta for this game there was around 6 heroes and 3 known bioweapons. I believe it was Jill, Chris, Claire, Leon, Honk, and Ada, and then Nemesis, Tyrant from RE2, and Jack Baker for bioweapons. Now this is a pretty good, pretty notoriously well-known list of characters, and there is plenty of options for more. We're going to go over the list of heroes first, and then the bioweapon characters people want to see afterwards. So from what I've seen, a lot of people do want these specific characters to come back. People want to see Rebecca, people want to see Barry, people want to see Carlos, Billy, someone from 7 or 8. I'm not really sure who it would be, considering how they portrayed Ethan as really not having a face and stuff like that. It could be Ethan, but maybe it would probably make more sense if it was Mia or Rose even, who knows. Bioweapons, obviously you've got a few interesting ones to kind of throw in there. You've got the original Tyrant from the first Resident Evil game. You've got Lady Dimitrescu, which people really want to see. It would make sense considering, that Reverse launched with Village, so it would be a pretty good idea to put locations or characters from that game in this game as well. Heisenberg is also an option from Resident Evil Village. Again, I think those two would probably be the ones that would fit the best in terms of how the game plays versus the other two. There's a few others, obviously the Ustanak from Resident Evil 6, which is like the Nemesis type thing in Jake's campaign. The Chainsaw guys would be pretty cool from Resident Evil 4, Dr. Salvador probably being the main one. Some kind of Ouroboros from Resident Evil 5 would be cool. And I think Mendez from Resident Evil 4 would be cool. The village leader guy, the first boss in the barn. That would be pretty cool. Moving on from the characters, if you were going to introduce a character from a certain game, want to have a map from a certain game. I'm sure there's many maps in the game already. Obviously, the beta being limited, it's probably only going to show you the one, which was a pretty good choice. So I would say the map in the beta was pretty good. I also believe in the tutorial mode in the beta, you were kind of in the Raccoon City streets area from the very beginning of the 3 remake, that kind of area. So that could be a map in the game as well that we didn't really get to explore. So I think it would make sense to have a map themed around a character or a bioweapon. So for an example, Mendez probably could come with the village part of Resident Evil 4 during the very, very beginning of the game when you're in that survival mode. That part. Lady Dimitrescu obviously could be the main hall of the castle and a few side rooms. Heisenberg could be part of his factory. Original Tyrant could be the mansion from Resident Evil 1, at least. That would be pretty cool. Like, they've got to make sense with the characters, obviously. And I think because Jack Baker was in the beta and the Chris from RE7 was in the beta, that there's probably going to be a map based around Resident Evil 7. Hopefully it's Baker Estate. Maybe it's the main hall part, or the inside main hall and the outside part. That would be pretty cool. Overall, with maps, I would say there's probably going to be a few more there than just the one at launch, if the game comes out, that is. But there's probably going to be more than one. I would say usually with this type of game, there's usually going to be around 6 or 7 at launch, probably. Maybe less, who knows? But I would say around that amount. So moving on from maps and characters, we have modes. Now modes is an interesting one because a lot of people are very torn on the type of modes they want to see added to the game. Now from what I can tell, the game is advertised as a deathmatch mode game, so it would make sense in that circumstance for it to be the only mode in the game. That could run stale with a lot of people, and that would be a concern. So there's a few ideas for extra modes out there that people want to see. I think a few that people have mentioned is team-based modes, whether it's a team deathmatch, like a 3v3. I believe the game's like a 6-player mode anyway, so 3v3 would be good. Maybe heroes versus bioweapons, where one team is actually set as bioweapons and one team is actually set as heroes, so there's no transformations on either side. That would be pretty cool. Some objective-based game modes. If you've played Umbrella Corps, you'll know the kind of objectives people are talking about, like where there's kind of something to find on the map, and whichever team holds it for the longest wins or something like that. You know, that game had a lot of random objective stuff, so that could be implemented into this pretty easily. And also PvE. PvE is something that's been mentioned a few times by a few people, and essentially it would be, you know, a team of 3, and you couldn't have dupe characters, so it would be, you know, a certain group of 3. Let's just say Jill, Claire, and Leon, for example. 3 characters go into one of the maps, and they have to locate something or do something specific. And there is AI controlled enemies in there, so whether it's zombies or molded, depending on the map you're on. And a bioweapon is there, themed around the map you're in. So let's just say it's the RPD and it's the Tyrant from Resident Evil 2 that's chasing you around. Obviously AI controlled, but a bit more tankier, so it's a bit more of a threat. And maybe hits you a little less harder than a player would, but it balances it out with the HP it has. And you essentially, let's just say, going into a map to find something and get out before dying, or in a certain amount of time, or something like that. I think PvE would really help this game out. It would add a lot more replayability, because you could go in different characters. Obviously each character does different things, so it would be different-ish every time. And, you know, having the maps linked to the enemies and bioweapons could be rotated maybe, who knows. And it would add a lot more replayability to the game, rather than it just being a deathmatch mode. And that goes for any other mode they add to the game, whether it's PvP or PvE. Having more modes in this game would be really beneficial. And finally, the last point I want to go over and mention quite briefly is earnable cosmetics throughout playing the game. Now this is something that people really want to see, and it would make sense to have this in the game just to keep people playing. The leading theory behind how this would work is, let's just say for example you're playing as Claire, right? And you have her base skin is her RE2 attire, okay? From the remake. And playing her, you level her up, buy her an XP for her, and eventually you'll come across some cosmetics, and there could be skins that make her look like how she does in Code Veronica, could be skins that make her look like how she did in the original RE2, Revelations, you know, anything that could change the, and even some new ones, you know, like anything that could change the appearance of a character that people love, people will play that for that. Other things as well, you know, like weapon camos and stuff like that, maybe some voice lines, that'd be pretty cool, like having the voice actors from RE2 remake for Claire and Leon, Chris from Village, Jill from 3 remake, like, and Ada and Hunk, you know, they're all there, they could all have, like, voice lines they can earn, that would be pretty cool. But don't make this stuff, like, not make all of it at least, paid content. Don't get me wrong, there could be some like pretty nice looking skins that are built for the game for the characters that could be, you know, paid transactions, but don't make all of it a paid microtransaction, because people don't really like that. It's pretty obvious people don't really like that. Obviously skins is different to pay to win, but even so, if people can have a way to either pay for it if they want, or earn it, that's a better system to have in your game. I for one would really like to see some kind of cosmetic earning track in the game, whether it comes under the form of like a battle pass or just being able to progress characters in certain ways. I think that would be really cool. One thing that Resistance suffered from in its gameplay is the slight amount of pay to win there was in that game. If you didn't know, you could buy the Umbrella credits basically, which you could use to open boxes, which would give you cards to make characters better. It is pay to win. Obviously you can't earn all of this stuff just from playing, but you can basically shortcut yourself to it and you can get really good really quick. It is an issue, but with this game it's very bare bones. It's very just, here's a gun, go fight everyone else, and you have a lot more opportunity to make more cosmetics there. Hell, I mean, look at Resistance anyway. Like, they added so many cosmetics to that game you could just get from, obviously it was a loot box system, but it was still, you know, you could play and earn those credits and spend those credits on those cosmetics. But in this game, make it so that people can just play to earn, rather than rolling randomly on a box, you know what I mean? I think having progression tracks for each of the characters would be a really cool system. But yeah, that's basically it. Overall, obviously, characters, maps, modes, cosmetics would make the game a lot bigger, would make the game a lot more enjoyable, would hopefully keep a stronger player base on launch. Will all this stuff happen? I don't know. I mean, again, like I said, the game is advertised as a deathmatch game, you know, and if they're going to stray too far from that, then they might as well change the game completely. It could be nice to see some new modes. I'm sure they'll add some new modes in the same kind of style as a deathmatch, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all of this. Do you want to see any of the things I mentioned? I'm sure most people would probably agree with what has been said. Content is key for this game, and hopefully they do deliver over time or at launch. But yeah, that'll do it for now. As always, remember to leave a like on the video. Leave your thoughts again in the comments down below, and I'll catch you all tomorrow for a brand new video.